How you doing, everybody? I'm Jim Ladd, and I'm sitting here in Pasadena, California, with Napoleon Bonaparte's alter ego, David Lee Roth.
How do you do, rock fans?
How you do, David?
I'm doing real well, Jim.
Good. We're going to start with this videotape that we just saw, and if you would tell us where the concept came from and how you got the idea for this.
Well, as you know, Jim, Van Halen hasn't made a concerted effort to do anything in the history of the band. What this is probably the most lavish home movie ever made. We wrote, directed, scripted, edited, and acted the entire flick ourselves. And the way we did it is sort of the surrealistic approach, which is where you just sort of go out and do it, and then 3 days later you go back and you try and figure out what you meant. And,
I see.
it wasn't synced up with the music anywhere along. We wrote some soundtrack music for it, and then it's rather like when you watch football and you turn the sound off on television and you listen to the radio, you know how it sort of comes together in an interesting way. This is our concept.
Now, the song called So This Is Love, this is from the Fair Warning album, and we're about to see a film of the live performance. What I want to know is, where was this film done?
The sound is recorded live in Oakland, California, over a period of 3 shows. And the first 2 tries at it, the first 2 shows, were an abysmal failure on account of technical problems. You know how those technical problems are, don't you? And something. And we used the 3rd take, which is it's Van Halen live. This was in the face of concept videos. At the time, a lot of people were doing the endless white background and, you know, and playing guitars with no chords, and this was a concept. And we sought to do something completely opposite.
Yeah, I've about had it with watching the camera zoom in and out on the white background.
Well, some people can get away with it. Some people are really good dancers, or some people are excellent actors. David Bowie is a very fine actor, aside from being a musician, so he can get away with it. The Stones, they move right, so it looks good, you know. Van Halen doesn't really do anything right, but it works.
Tell us what you know about, we're going to talk about Eddie here for a minute, if you would. Tell us what you know about Eddie's musical training before Van Halen. I heard it was quite extensive. Is that?
Well, he was beaten regularly and forced to learn the piano and commit great large pieces of music to memory, all of which he has forgotten, which makes it rather like going to law school. If you've ever met an attorney, you know that you forget what you've been beaten into learning very quickly. And what happens is Edward learned classical piano, and Alex, as far as I know, was always involved in the drums. Their father is a professional musician, and Mr. Van Halen plays clarinet on one of the songs on the new record coming up.
Oh, really? His father does?
Yes, sir, which, incidentally, the name of the new album is Diver Down. And Mr. Van Halen plays clarinet on a song called Big Bad Bill is Sweet William Now, so you'll get a real taste of the roots, where these guys come from.
Very good.
I, on the other hand, have no musical influences whatsoever, and that explains my position.
What about Alex? Did he go through about the same things since they're...
Well, Alex was kicked out of finishing school early in life and was forced to find himself a job. He was originally going to work at the LA airport, really, and he was going to be one of the guys who loses your bags.
One of those guys.
So now he's in the band, and he's the guy who loses the beat. And, you know, what you have to understand mostly about Alex or any other drummer is that drummers are people who make their livings hitting things with sticks. And we hire people to do that for other things. But Alex has got to be the main spirit of Van Halen.
Really?
Yes, that's why we named the band after him, not Edward Van Halen.
Stay with us for David Bowie on Don Kirshner's Rock Concert.
Where did you first meet Michael Anthony?
We met Michael. He was playing in an alternative band when we were in high school. And what it was is it came time to decide whether you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an Indian chief or what have you. And very many of our friends ran off to be Indian chiefs and dope dealers. And we were sort of stuck with each other because we all wanted to make a band. We wanted to make music. And that's where we're at now. It's a rather simple thing. It's not There was no real design behind it. We weren't figuring on traveling worldwide. We weren't figuring necessarily on making records. We just wanted to play.
Really? Is that the truth? No, seriously.
That is the truth. And that is the integrity, what's left of it, of Van Halen, is that it's a real rock and roll band in that we really don't care. And by that I mean, you would go into the studio and you have the record company people and you have the agent and everybody's screaming, oh, we need a hit, we need a hit, we got to have something commercial, we got to have something that's saleable, product, and that's what they call it, product, and you know, and on and on and on. And we've never bowed to that kind of pressure. We've always just gone along our merry little way. As far as the way we look, the way we act, the way we talk in interviews, the way we make our records, Van Halen has absolute control over everything that we do. We have absolute final say. So what you see and hear and buy from Van Halen is really the band. We're not trying to sell something. I could really care less. Life is not a popularity contest, you know. And it's not a big statement. It's not a philosophy of, you know, how everybody these days is thinking, oh, we want to get back to the land. We want to get back to the country. We'll express this in the music. I just want to get back to the hotel.
That is what is at the essence of rock and roll, and what a lot of people look to for something to believe in, is that here's some guys doing what they feel as opposed to what will sell.
Well, there's a tremendous amount of businessmen on stage these days. And they go out and they don't play music, they work it. And it's intrinsic in the word itself. You play music. You don't work music. You work an Atari game. You work a computer or a typewriter. You don't work a guitar. You play it. And if there is any abiding philosophy with Van Halen, it is that. We have a good time. That's not to say all Van Halen songs are boogie, boogie, boogie and fun, fun, fun. But there is a positive note behind most of the music. And that is what we shall maintain, and that is what will maintain Van Halen throughout the years.
Let's talk about Unchained here for a minute. Would you say that you live your real life like these lyrics, David? I mean, is this the David Lee Roth if we listen to Unchained?
Well, some people continually get out of the wrong side of the bed, or they don't get out of bed at all. And when they do hit the ground, they stay there, instead of hitting the ground running. And that's, once again, you're back to the rearview mirror story of follow the hood ornament, forward movement, you know. There's a lot of people in Hollywood, for instance, who take lessons for a living. And when they hit the ground, they plant right there, and that's where you'll find them 5 years from now. They do nothing. People should move, try something, try it. No guts, no game. Go for it, man. What do you got to lose? Nothing, you know? Whether it's romance, or whether it's music, or whether it's your business, or whether it's your car, or whatever it is, you go for it. I'm beginning to sound a lot like Reverend Ike, ain't I? Well, that's, you know, and you know how many people believe in him, and he says the same thing, you know. Go for it. Take a shot. Take a shot. People live their life in fear, and then they wonder why the world is caving in on them, and their wife left, and you know, and it's, you know.
That's always interested me, how a lot of people are afraid of rock and roll for that one point, because people like Van Halen will come out and say, hey, follow your own mind, go out and go for it, rather than, and that scares people. Well, you can't tell people to go out and do what they want.
Well, that breaks the mold. That breaks the mold. Whenever you break tradition, people always feel encroached upon. There's a fear of the unknown, what lurks behind that corner, you know, that sort of thing. And when somebody finally does walk around the corner and says, hey, it's pretty light around here, you know, looks okay on this side like that, then you get into the jealousy trips, and you get into the, oh no, now everybody's going to walk around the corner, you know, and that sort of thing. And whenever you break tradition, you know, people always recoil in shock about it. But if nobody ever broke tradition, we'd still look like George Washington, you know.
Or Napoleon Bonaparte.
Or Napoleon Bonaparte. Look how far we've come.
Yes. Listen,
it's live.
I think so. Thank you, man, very much for
Thank you very much.
joining us today. All right.
Thank you, America.
David Lee Roth of Van Halen. Cut.